partner or husband wanting them to have an abortion was the primary reason that they did it.
Okay, I'd have to look more into that. I mean, I guess in a perfect world, if a woman gets an abortion in Michigan, what do you think should happen to that person?
Yeah, so if a bill of equal protection has already passed and didn't give the mother special murder rights, then she is willingly breaking the law by murdering her child, and she should be prosecuted for murder.
Hayden Rodea surprising Charlie Kirk, and I think actually owning Charlie Kirk. Yes, that's right. They were talking about pregnancy termination, and Hayden Rodea thinks that maybe we should also hold the women that choose to do this accountable, and Charlie Kirk disagrees. Can Hayden change his mind? Well, let's watch and see how this goes down.
Well,
Yes, thank you.
my name is Hayden, and I think I can change your mind on an issue in 90 seconds or less.
Wow, okay.
I'd like to respectfully challenge your view on the moral culpability of mothers and abortion. From what I understand, you view most post-abortive mothers as victims of the abortion industry rather than as murderers themselves. This view concerns me because victims don't need to repent and confess sin, but murderers do, and there's tremendous reason to believe the vast majority of mothers getting abortions are murderers. 91% of women who get abortions are age 20 or older, and 59% have previously given birth at least once. Less than 1% of abortion patients cite their husband, partner, or parents wanting them to have an abortion as their most important reason for having the abortion. A 2011 study of over 15,000 abortions found that 43% of abortion patients chose to view their ultrasound, and 98% of them still proceeded with the abortion. Even in Wisconsin, where there's a 24-hour waiting period, informed consent laws, and mandatory ultrasounds with verbal descriptions of the baby's heartbeat, development, and visible body parts, 89% of women at a Milwaukee clinic still chose to go through with the abortion, with 93% reporting they were the dominant decision maker. All this information supports my view, but is largely unnecessary, since Romans 2 tells us that the law of God is written on every human heart, including those of the women who willingly murdered their children by abortion. If this is not clear evidence that most mothers who procure abortions are guilty of the sin of murder, then what evidence, if any, could I provide to persuade you?
Okay, so just to be clear, maybe you should explain more to the audience of your view. You are an abolitionist, is that correct?
No, sir. So I believe that we shouldn't retroactively prosecute women, and abolitionists don't believe that either. But I believe that
Some do, but I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, so I believe that we should pass a bill of equal protection that protects all human life equally from conception and doesn't give special murder rights to mothers.
I mean, at least can we agree that abortionists should first be prosecuted before anybody else? Can we agree on that?
I don't think that we should delay providing equal protection to preborn humans, and we would be delaying it by giving mothers special murder
We're
rights.
just not going to agree on this. I don't, regardless of all those stats, I don't think women are given informed consent when they get an abortion. I don't think.
Ooh, Charlie Kirk going with my feelings argument. Ooh, I don't know about that, Charlie. I don't know.
They quite understand what they are doing in most cases. And I think it's also somewhat deeply destructive if we're trying to make the country more pro-life, like your opening argument being like, we want to go lock women up in jail because they got abortions, many of the time under pressure, being paid for by somebody else, so on and so forth.
Well, that's not true. As I mentioned, only 1% of women, according to a 2004 Guttmacher study, said that their parents, partner, or husband wanting them to have an abortion was the primary reason that they did it.
Okay, I'd have to look more into that. I mean, I guess in a perfect world, if a woman gets an abortion in Michigan, what do you think should happen to that person?
Yeah, so if a bill of equal protection has already passed and didn't give the mother special murder rights, then she is willingly breaking the law by murdering her child, and she should be prosecuted for murder.
Yeah, again, I don't share that view, and that's fine. I think that the abortionist is the one doing the murdering, and in some case, the woman knows what she's doing. In many other cases, she's not given informed consent. But also, this is a little bit of a superfluous argument, because we're in Michigan, where I think they just passed abortion into the Constitution, right? And so, I mean, at some point, this is like a hypothetical argument that is so far distant. Like, maybe let's talk about first, I don't know, repealing back some of the most aggressive pro-abortion policies in our country, right?
Well,
and just to be clear, your position does turn off like millions of people just from your opening salvo. That makes us seem like insanely unreasonable, as if we're like all of a sudden not going to lock up women, many of the times who have no idea what they're doing, in vulnerable positions. Again, I actually, as a pro-lifer, have a heart for women that get abortions most of the time. So I think they've been lied to by an abortion industry, be told that it's just a clump of cells and not a human being.
Ooh, Charlie Kirk with the fail, I think, on this one. Listen, this is something that I've always wondered for a while. Because I'm like, well, if abortion is murder, right? Why don't we hold the women accountable? Like, yes, I do understand that women can be tricked into thinking that, but that's where we come in and try to educate them and saying, no, it is a life. You know, that's what we should be doing. Like, I have sympathy for women who are tricked into this, but there are women who know it's murder and don't care. And they do it anyway. So you don't even think those women should suffer any consequences? Like with Charlie Kirk's reasoning, like, well, it's the abortionists that are doing the unaliving, they're doing the procedure, but the women are going there to do it. They drive themselves there or get a ride or whatever. They transport themselves there. They filled all the documentation, they pay for it. They're not just absolved of responsibility here. They're still making the choice to go through with it. Sometimes I just, like the conservatives, like at least the more mainstream ones, they like to push this whole thing like women need to take more responsibility and stuff. But then when you kind of don't want to even hold them responsible for choosing to go get that procedure done, I mean, it's kind of like you're still more taking away women's responsibility. Like you're still treating them like they're children here.
Whereas I'm not trying to criticize you, the way that your approach comes across is like, let's just say, charitably very cruel to a young woman where she just hears, she's going to go to jail if she gets an abortion. Do you think that's going to make the country more pro-life, your perspective?
So a quick follow-up on that. So I would agree that we can take the political realities into account when trying to form policy and laws. So if, for example, you're in a state, and for like Oklahoma or Louisiana, where you have a pro-life majority, and you think to yourself, okay, we could pass a bill of equal protection, but if we do that, we might see a backlash in the next national election. That's a political calculation. I'm fine with people making that. But my disagreement with you is it doesn't seem like this is a political calculation, but rather a moral judgment that these women are victims and not murderers.
I actually think they are victims. We just disagree.
Okay, so what evidence could persuade you?
Well, nothing that you cited, but just anecdotally, when anecdotally, which does form opinion, and I'd have to find more data, I know women that I've met that have gotten abortions almost always have a second or third party assisting, subsidizing, or notifying them in doing that. Secondly, a lot of the women that have abortions, they're filled with regret because many of the times of the people I've met, maybe you have different experiences, they say, if I would have known the complexity of what that actually was a human life, they would have maybe made a different decision. So we just disagree. I have a different approach, and thank you for your time today. You tried to change my mind, but you did not. Thank you.
Can I have a hat?
Okay. This is just me thinking out loud here. Like, let's say we were to pass a law that says, so we hold women accountable for getting that procedure done. Well, then wouldn't that kind of force more of like a dialogue or an open, wouldn't that, so let's say they passed a law, right, somewhere in the state. Wouldn't that kind of bring this conversation more to the forefront here? Wouldn't it kind of force us to then defend our position? Like, well, this is a life, and actually inform more women that you are taking a life, and so that way in the future then maybe they wouldn't be tricked into doing this, or manipulated or what have you. Like they wouldn't be forced into doing this, because again, it's like, I understand that, yes, like us as our current culture as it is now, we push this whole thing that it's a healthcare decision, it's a woman's right, and all this nonsense. So yes, I understand where Charlie Kirk's coming from with like, yes, there are women that are like just don't know. But like I said, though, I think if we were to actually at least put it on the table, it might actually make this argument come more to the forefront, the mainstream, because then we would be forced to have to defend that, well, this is actually a life. And maybe a broader conversation might begin. And so, because we would have to then educate women and tell them, no, you are taking a life. And that's why this law is on the table right now. Again, just kind of thinking out loud here, maybe I'm wrong on this, but even if I am wrong on that, again, I've always wondered how come holding women accountable for this is off the table. Like, how come when a woman kills her newborn, right? Like leaves them in a trash bag in a dumpster somewhere or something, and abandons it, leaves it to die. Well, how come we hold that woman accountable, but when it comes to when it's inside them, well, what makes it different? It kind of flips the whole argument around onto the abortionists, and that's onto the anti-abortion crowd, the pro. It kind of flips the argument around onto the pro-life crowd. In that, well, where's the line? How come in this situation this is murder? The same way the pro-life use it to the pro-choice people, like, well, where's the line where life begins? Well, how come is it we hold women accountable when they do it when they're a newborn, but if it's still inside them, oh well, then we shouldn't be holding the women accountable. Charlie Kirk, I don't think he did a good job on this one, because he's using anecdotal evidence. Well, the women that I've talked to, they didn't know and they regretted and all these things. Okay, great, bud. But what about the stats? What about the statistics? What about the women out there? 'Cause not in my personal life, but just like videos or something online of people saying, like, or pictures that people share where it's like they know they're taking a life and they don't care. Like, those people exist too. So where's the line? Like, what should we do then? So we shouldn't even punish the women who do know that it's murder and they're doing it anyway. We shouldn't punish them because the people who don't know might also get punished. I agree with Hayden and Charlie that it shouldn't be retroactive, but I don't see why it's off the table. And I do disagree with Charlie Kirk on that one. Good job on Hayden Rodia, though, confronting Charlie Kirk. But what did you guys think about this? What are your thoughts and opinions on this whole thing? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give that like button a tap or a click or a smash, whatever you want to do. And if you really liked it, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will really help me out a lot. And if you like seeing content like this, I have a whole channel full of content. Some of it's even on the screen right now that I think you'll enjoy.